Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Badash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS that rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to all the brothers out there pushing His word in sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children out there keeping His word in sincerity and in truth. Okay, I want to go into this lesson, going into how really the article I really want to go into. I'm gonna pull up next, but it's just going into the persecution. That's the coming persecution for the believers of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And what you're seeing, like with this article now from Azan Ha'amath, it says China deploys SWAT teams in mass arrest of Christians as crackdown on house churches intensifies, which they're cracking down on people who believe in the scriptures, which, I mean, of course, ain't no telling, this is, of course, probably the world's Christian view and not according to the scriptures, obviously, not saying that there aren't Israelites in the East, Salakia. Not saying it's not Israelites in the eastern side of the world, even if they look like the heathen nations, there are Israelites over there. But a lot of this are probably people who just adapted the actual modern Christian doctrine, So it said they deploy SWAT teams in mass arrest. They're arresting people who believe in the Bible. And then we have this, where I just seen on YouTube, it says 2-year-old given life sentence. Which I'll read the AI overview and then I'll read some of the other articles. Now it says a 2-year-old child was sentenced to life imprisonment in a North Korean political prison camp after their parents were found in possession of a Bible in 2009. Okay, this is well over 10 years ago. This case was reported in a 2022 U.S. State Department report on international religious freedom in North Korea. It says this incident illustrates the human rights violations and religious persecution in North Korea, which America has no right to even judge based on what they do over here. They allow Satanism over here, and be whatever you want to be, do whatever you want to do. It says the case involved an entire family being targeted by North Korea authorities. The incident in 2009, a family was arrested after the parents were discovered to be practicing Christians and were in possession of a Bible. The entire family unit, including their 2-year-old child, was sentenced to life in a political prison camp due to the regime's policy of guilt by association or collective punishment. It says the case was documented through accounts from defectors and was included in the U.S. State Department's report on international religious freedom, Democratic People's Republic of Korea for 2022. The report cited data from Korea Future, a non-governmental organization. Now, let's see, it says hostility towards religion. The North Korean regime views an alternate belief system, particularly Christianity, as a threat. The state denies citizens the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. And for anyone who would say that that's wrong, well, just imagine how the kingdom of heaven is going to be. There's actually nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, these people are not serving Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. They're doing their thing in wickedness. When we get in power, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to enforce the worship of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Let me get there real quick. This is Revelation chapter 2. Starting at verse 26 to verse 25. It says, but that which ye have already hold fast till I come. Verse 26, AMP. And he who overcomes the world through believing that Yahweh Shai is the Son of the Most High, and he who keeps my deeds, doing things that please me until the very end, to him I will give authority and power over the nations. Now, verse 27, in the KJ No, I'm saying AMP. And he shall shepherd and rule them with a rod of iron, as earthen pots are broken in pieces. Also, it's like you, as I also have received authority and power to rule them from my Father. So it said they're gonna be broken as potters, as earthen potters, or earthen pots. But it said in the KJV, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers. We gonna break these other nations of all their habits, all their beliefs, everything that they do that's contrary to anything righteous. We gonna break them out of it. You know, we gonna force the entire world to worship and serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Now this is Psalms chapter 2. What verse is it? Let's see. Psalms chapter 2, starting at verse 7. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. And this is going into what the Lord has given unto Yahweh Shai, and we are joint heirs, the elect. Lord willing, with that number, the elect are joint heirs with Yahweh Shai, so they can receive a portion of this too. Now, verse 9, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel, which we just read this in Revelation. And that's what Yahweh Shai said. He said to him that overcome, I'm going to give you that same power, because it's been given unto him. You know, that responsibility of cleaning up the earth and getting these other nations in order, under the order of Yahweh Shai, is going to be our responsibility, started with Yahweh Shai. So getting everyone to believe what, because they do it unto us. You know, it's many different examples where we are being in captivity serving Yahweh Shai, like in Daniel's, the book of Daniel, or Daniel himself. He was still praying and serving Yahweh Shai, while they was, I think that's what got him thrown in the lion's den. You know, because he got thrown in the lion's den and in the furnace. Well, that was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Yeah, that's what got him thrown in the lion's den, for worshiping and serving Yahweh Shai, praying to the Lord. Even after the decree was made that they should bow down to the I think it was Nebuchadnezzar at the time. I go back, check, verified in a second. But let me get Psalms chapter 110 real quick. It's the Psalms chapter 110 in the AMP. A Psalm of David. The Lord, which is the Father, says to my Lord, which is the Messiah, his Son, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet, subjugating them into complete submission. See? So this is what we're going to do when Yahweh Shai returns, and we get those new bodies, we get that power, the order gets set up how it's supposed to be. We're going to put these other nations in order. So it's not far-fetched when it says hostility towards religion. That's exactly what we're going to do. You know, we ain't going to allow these other nations to worship and serve and do whatever they want to do. They're going to be forced to worship Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And even like what they're going, like when they break the rules, they're going to be punished. They're going to be punished. Now, we ain't going to do the punishments that they doing. They're going to be in captivity already for 1,000 years. So it's already going to be hardcore on them. It's going to be on a whole nother level. But the fact of the matter is that it says in summary, the account of the 2-year-old sentenced to life in prison is a confirmed case, documented in international human rights reports, illustrating the persecution faced by Christians and other religious individuals under the North Korean regime. So the thing is, you have a 2-year-old, a 2-year-old toddler I don't know if this is the picture of the toddler or not, but if it is, you got this 2-year-old that's got sentenced to life in prison, and they only been here for 2 years. You know, they only been on this earth for 2 years, and they already got life in prison. Like, like that's like you can't even imagine that. You know, how did that's essentially they're going to be a slave for that lifetime. You know, if they was to live out their entire life, because we know that Yahweh Shai, we living in the end. Yahweh Shai is on his way back real soon. But this is just, you know, the 2-year-old being thrown in prison. That's just, you know, it's kind of outlandish. The 2-year-old being punished for something they don't even understand. If it's, you know, this girl, something she doesn't even understand, you know. But that's how it's gonna be for the elect too, because this is coming for the men of the Lord and you women too, you know. This is Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. It says, "Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison." I'm finishing the KJV, and I'm reading AMP. "That you may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." Now in the AMP it says, "Fear nothing that you are about to suffer. Be aware that the devil is about to throw some of you into prison, that ye may be tested in your faith. And for 10 days," 10 going into it just a complete amount of days. It's not saying literally 10 days. "You will have tribulation. Be faithful to the point of death if you must die for your faith, and I will give you a crown consistent of life." So this is going to come to those who believe and serve Yahweh Yahweh Shai. We are not exempt. Us are the hopeful elect. We are not exempt from this type of judgment. Well, this type of testing, it's not judgment on those who believe, but it's the test. Now, this is 2nd Ezra 16, and I'm going to start at verse 70. It says, "For there shall be in every place and in the next city a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord." This is how Esau is going to roll on the, you know, the elect, the hopeful elect, you know, for those who's allotted that lot. To like you. It says, "For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. Hear, O ye my beloved." And notice it said beloved, meaning the Lord, you are loved by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Says the Lord, "Behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for the Most High is your God, and the God of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith the Lord. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves." Right. Like it said, you know, don't be afraid, for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is going to be our God. And even if you get thrown into prison, this is something I was, you know, meditating on about an hour ago. If you get, you know, if you one of those brothers or sisters that get thrown into the prison or the camps or whatever they have for those who believe in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, I was just thinking about this scenario. You can get thrown into prison along with other people, whether they're Israelites or not, but 9 times out of 10, they probably be Israelites. And you're going to be in there for a certain amount of time, you know, because their whole mindset is to try to break you, you know. They want to break you for serving the Lord. Let's see. The scripture that's let me see. It's in this chapter. Let me just see. Okay. 68. I want to see what they say. Yeah. GNT. I'm already here. Oh, no, I'm not. Okay, yeah. This is 2nd Ezra 16 and 68 and 69 in the GNT. It says, a vast mob of people is ready now to descend on you and devour you like flames. They will drag some of you off and force you to eat pagan sacrifices. If you give in to them, they will ridicule you, mock you, and humiliate you. Now, in the KJV, it say the same thing. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you. And they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. And they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden underfoot. So like I said, I was just thinking even to myself, you can be locked in those camps, for a certain amount of time. Just say maybe it be 2 months, you be in there 2 months before Yahweh Shah returns. But within those 2 months, they understand, they already know who you are. They know what you will and will not eat and what you would and would not tolerate. So they try to test you. They start you off the first 5 days giving you things that's lawful for you to eat. Everybody in there lawful for you to eat. But then the next, the rest of the 2 months, they start giving things that's unlawful for you to eat. Nothing in there is pretty much lawful, or everything they give you is nothing lawful. And everybody else is caving and eating. They gonna eat regardless of what it is. And they gonna eat your food too, because you ain't eating it, because it's unlawful. And then they stop providing you with food and water. They only give it to everybody else. So now you go maybe 2 days without eating and 2 days without drinking, and then, but you praying to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua the whole time. And they tell it, and then after a while, they stop, after a while, they stop feeding everybody, So now everybody, so the next day, nobody eats. But you went to sleep, and how the Lord provided for you, I was thinking like how the Lord can do a miracle where you have a dream. Every single time you go to sleep, you have a dream. And a dream, the Lord already has food prepared. He has nothing but lawful food, and it's pure, pure food and drinks, wine, water, everything is pure, untempered, nothing is in its purest form. Something that this earth hasn't produced since Esau been in power. And the food is something that you never had before. So it's not even anything you can find on earth. It's food that you're not even aware of. Nobody has eaten. And every time you go into your dream, it's always the same food there for you to eat. And you eat and you drink and you become satisfied. It's enough for you to be satisfied. And then when you wake up, everything you ate in your dream translates over to your body. So you got all the nutrients and you got all the liquids that you need to keep you going. So the Lord is feeding you in your dreams, and you don't even have to physically eat in the real world. And Esau taking note of it, that he went, he did 2 more days. So you would have went 4 days without eating, but everybody else would have went 2 days without eating. And just to break everybody, because that's the point. He'll be trying to break you and get you from stopping to serve Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, But everybody else, they at their breaking point, 2 days without eating and drinking. They're ready to do whatever it takes to get food, to survive, So when he tells that they got to take the Revelation 13 and 16, they willingly go do it because they ready to eat and drink again. And they put random people together because they know it's easier to break people when they feel isolated, Just paint a scenario. This is what I was thinking about. But they noticed that you were healthy. They noticed that it ain't nothing wrong with you. You full of energy, even though they know that you would have went 4 days without eating or drinking, and that you should be close to death, because going so long without drinking or eating would make somebody extremely weak, but extremely dehydrated. But they notice that you full of energy, you full of health, and ain't nothing wrong with you, you know. And I want to give a quick. Let's put it on. Oh, okay. I put an extra in. I want to get a quick precept. Now, this is Daniel chapter 3. Let's see. I don't want to get the whole thing. I'm going to start at verse 11. Daniel chapter 3 and 11. Because like I said, before I read this, like I said, Esau is trying to figure out how is it that you are still alive. He's trying to figure out how is it that you are still going and you haven't eaten anything. Everybody else is at their breaking point. They look like they finna die, you know. But you steady, you know, able to take whatever it is he dishing out to you. And he can't figure it out. But again, every single time you go to sleep, the Lord feeds you and give you something to drink, you know. Now, this is Daniel chapter 3, and he can do it. As the scripture says, Yahweh Shai said, with man, it's impossible. With Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, nothing is impossible, you know. Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, nothing is impossible. So this is an account of the impossible becoming possible. This is Daniel 3 and 11. Read it out in the AMP. It says, whoever does not fall down and worship shall be thrown into the midst of a furnace of blazing fire. And I just remembered that it wasn't Nebuchadnezzar that threw Daniel in the lion's den. It was King Darius. I had just remembered that. Verse 12. There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the administration of the province of Babylon, namely Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, pay no attention to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the golden image which you have set up, which we not supposed to. We not supposed to worship or serve other gods. And just like we just read in 2nd Ezra 16, they said they're going to try to feed you with things off of they're going to try to feed you unlawful foods if you get captured and get, you know, taken, like I said, thrown into prison. They're going to try to break you, you know. So it says, verse 13, then Nebuchadnezzar in a furious rage gave command to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and these men were brought before the king. Nebuchadnezzar said to them, is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image which I have set up? Now, if you are ready, when you hear the sound or of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, to fall down and worship the image which I have made, very good. But if you do not worship, you should be thrown at once into the midst of the furnace of blazing fire. And what God is there who can rescue you out of my hands? And Esau gonna say the same thing. They gonna come with these same words. And we're like, look, you ain't gonna eat. You ain't getting nothing, you know, just in this scenario that I, you know, thought about. You ain't gonna eat or you ain't gonna drink. This is all you got, you know. So you better take this unlawful food, whatever it is, and eat it. You know, that's the only way you gonna survive. That's the same thing that Nebuchadnezzar just did. He put them in a scenario. He was like, is it true that you don't serve or worship my God? Now look, I'm finna set it up to where when you hear this music, you bow down and worship him. And if you don't, I'm gonna throw you in that furnace of fire. Esau might come with the same scenario. This is all you got to eat. Or you can go and take the MOTB, you know, the Revelations 13 and 16. If you take that, I'll let you out, and you can go back to your life and live your life like you've been wanting to. But you can't, you can't do this. You got to do it with stipulations, of course. But he say, if you don't do it, you're going to be in here forever. You ain't going to get out. And if you don't eat this food that I serve you, you're going to die in here. That'll probably be the options that he give. Now it says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered the king on Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to answer you on this point. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to rescue us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he will rescue us from your hand, O king. But even if he does not, let it be known to you, O king, that we are not going to serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. And this is the mindset of the elect. They're going to tell Esau the same thing. I'm not taking that. And I'm not eating that either. So whether I die here or whether the Lord deliver me, I'm going to do what the Lord told me to do and not you. Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury, and his facial expressions changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then he gave commandment that the furnace was to be heated 7 times hotter than usual. He commanded certain strong men in the army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the furnace of blazing fire. Then these 3 men were tied up in their trousers, their coats, their turbans, and other clothes. So they tried to make sure that they was extremely warm, extremely hot. It says, and were thrown into the midst of the furnace of blazing fire, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace was extremely hot. The furnace of the fire killed the men who carried up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell into the midst of the furnace of blazing fire, still tied up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, looked and was astounded. And he jumped up and said to his counselors, did we not throw 3 men who were tied up in the midst of the fire? They replied to the king, certainly, O king. He answered, look, I see 4 men untied walking around in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the appearance of the 4th is like a son of the gods. And in the KJV, it says the son of God. And let's see what this footnote say. It says the KJV has the son of God here, referring to the pre-incarnate Yahweh Shai, because the usual term for God is Elohim, with a plural form, which is Elohim. So it's gods. Elohim is gods. Allah is God, and those are titles. It says, even if it was the pre-incarnate Yahweh Shai Messiah, however, the pagan king would not had him in mind, but a son of the Babylonian gods prior, perhaps a minor deity or an angel. The ancient rabbis, of course, would have fought any attempts by Christians to equate the 4th person in the furnace with the son of God. So they portrayed God as turning Nebuchadnezzar over to Satan for punishment for the words he exclaimed, as he did in fact say son of God. And okay, so basically, more likely it was either an angel or Yahweh Shai himself, But having son of God, it could be Yahweh Shai, But they, like he said, he seen 4 people walking around unharmed. And we know that Yahweh Shai protected them, And like he said, he was astounded. The men that threw them in was burnt up. They died upon impact. But the men that was thrown in were found, they were safe. So just like even with the scenario that I was just thinking about earlier today, about an hour ago, I was like, the Lord can make a miracle where every time you go to sleep, while you in prison, for being a believer, the Lord can make it to where you can go to sleep and have a dream. And every single time you dream, you eating and drinking and getting everything that you need. And when you wake up, everything that you ate in your dream, is inside your, your stomach, or you got the nutrients from it. So you don't even have to eat, You don't even have to eat. You already got the nutrients. Or it don't have to be inside your stomach. You just got the nutrients from when you ate in your dream. That way you don't have to go use the bathroom. You know, the Lord can do it. The Lord, he can come up with any type of thing. Anything that we can think of, he gonna outdo it. You know, our minds are finite. Lord already got it situated how he gonna think of how he gonna do it. You know, that's just a thought that was put in my mind, you know. As I was meditating, it just came to my mind. So we already got different accounts of when the Lord came through for other men that had they not been believers or had they not been, you know, beloved of the Lord, they would have died, you know, horribly. But he said he saw 4 men. Now I'm gonna finish it out. It says, then Nebuchadnezzar approached the door of the blazing furnace and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out of there, come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the midst of the fire. The satraps, the prefects, the governors, and the king's counselors gathered around them and saw that in regard to these men, the fire had no effect on their bodies. Their hair was not singed. Their clothes were not scorched or damaged. Even the smell of smoke was not on them. Nebuchadnezzar responded and said, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants who believed in, trusted in, and relied on him. They violated the king's commandment and surrendered their bodies rather than serve and worship any god except their own. Therefore, I make a decree that any people, nation, or language that speaks anything offensive against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego should be cut in pieces, and their houses be made a heap of rubbish. For there is no other God who is able to save in this way. Then the king called Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to prosper in the province of Babylon. So they got respect because of believing in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, and because of their faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, he delivered them. And in these other nations, they couldn't believe it. These Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar, he couldn't believe it. Nobody could believe it. How it happened. They seen it with their own eyes. And the Lord said he gonna outdo what he did in ancient that was the ancient salvation for Egypt. But what's going to happen in today's time, you know, for the deliverance of this time out of this captivity, it's going to far exceed anything that the Lord has ever done. So, you know, I just wanted to bring that out. Just something that I was meditating on, and Lord will was edifying. So on that note, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of GMS that rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to all the brothers that they're pushing his word of sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children that they're keeping his word of sincerity and the truth. Until next time, shalom.